Hello and welcome back to How to Connect with Humans. This is Series 4, Episode 5. Hello, Wayne, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm very good.
Good.
I'm more than good.
Good.
Because we're going to find the magic in relationships. So we're going to find the way of being guided through the magic in relationships. And so something we don't know anything about, and we may be very useful for when we switch off that light and the real you and me start. No, that's but we have a lovely, lovely guest speaker. We really learned to love her very quickly, and quite in a short period of time. So we have Susan Marmot here tonight, and she's going to talk about being guided by the magic in relationships. So hello, Susan, it's such a pleasure to have you here. And so we'll let you sort of, if you want to, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about, you know, what you've done and what you do. So thank you so much for being.
Well, thank you both. Thank you both for inviting me, and it's a lovely, warm place to be tonight. It's really nice. Normally, when I'm speaking, I'm more like a bit anxious, but it's such we had quite a laugh before we even started, so I'm feeling more settled. So it's lovely, and thank you everyone who's come tonight as well. So just a little bit of background. I came across this understanding in 2013. I trained at the One Thought Institute, and then I went and worked with Aaron and Mara at the time, and then Aaron and Leela. So I worked for One Thought for a while, and I also have worked for Beyond Recovery, working in the prison system for 5 years. And I also work with the lovely Caroline and Lily, who are here tonight. And we were Caroline's social enterprise is called Slice of Happiness, and we work with people affected by homelessness and people with mental health issues. And the lovely Lily and also Lou, who I forgot to invite tonight, we are setting up our own social enterprise to work with people coming out of the care system, which is called The Big Simple. And we'll be launching that soon. So that's just a little bit about me. One thing I haven't mentioned that I do, which is very relevant to tonight, is that I co-facilitate on a training called Relationship Ready, which is run by Leela Turner. And I've been doing that for about 5 years. And what that's about is it's to help people who are looking for a partner, but kind of have difficulty dating, or they find it awkward or uncomfortable. It's a great course that kind of prepares people to get relationship ready. So that's maybe because we've worked already with a lot of people, and that kind of I'm going to use the word qualify, but it doesn't feel quite right. So it qualifies me to maybe talk a little bit about this. But the main thing that does, I think, is my own personal journey with dating, with love, because it was an area for me that, well, ever since I've been old enough to kiss a boy, has been quite difficult and problematic, and not always. I've obviously I'm 56 now, and I'm sort of probably kissed my first boy when I was 13, and I think it was underwater in a swimming pool. Like, we jumped in, went under the water and kissed and held our breath, That's all I can remember about that. But yes, but it's been it's been such a long and complicated and often difficult journey between now until the time where I got to the age of 50. And then I had a big turnaround and things became really, really different. And I just, I started to kind of glide through relationship. And so that is what makes me kind of keen to kind of share what helped me or what happened, because it is literally just the most impossible contrast between how it looked before and how it looks now. Yeah, I just feel like it's, I just want to kind of talk about that and see if anything helps anybody who might be struggling with the many different things that I did struggle with. So I was, I have been reflecting all day about this talk and kind of thinking, what do I want to share? Because I do like to kind of come at it fresh each time and see what feels kind of relevant. And one of the things that I was remembering was how relationships, what I thought about them back then. Like when I was younger, and I'm not talking 13 anymore, but in my late teens, 20s, 30s, possibly even 40s, I thought relationships were a really serious business. And it was something that I really, really wanted. I really, really desired to meet somebody who I felt really compatible and easy and enjoyed the company, and, felt that I loved and they loved me. But I did think that relationship was something that you took very seriously, and it was serious. And by that, I suppose I mean that I assumed that it was always going to be like very hard work in relationship, because that's how it felt for me. And I kind of looked around at other people, and it did kind of look like hard work most of the time for most of the people that I saw. And I just want to say, if anybody wants to interrupt me or ask a question or anything, you're welcome to do it. So I felt like relationship was a serious business and it had to be taken seriously. And if I was in one, I felt like that almost like you had to have big talks with each other, that was part of being in relationship. I also thought that about friendships. It's like, I used to think that I have a cousin of mine who's a psychotherapist, and the way that we always interacted together was to have these very deep and meaningful conversations where basically we would share the shit in each other's lives, like the heavy stuff, the things that were going wrong. And that is how we related to each other. And I felt like that, although it didn't feel that great when I came off the call, I felt like that is how you relate to people. I thought you shared your painful stuff. So I kind of had that idea about relationship as well. That is a way you kind of share your painful stuff. You bring up all the time what's not working or what's not going right. And that is what my idea was. And it didn't mean I was heavy all the time. And I certainly, at times, I was kind of lighthearted and fun. Otherwise, I don't think I'd have been able to pull anyone, really. I doubt they would have been attracted unless they thought there was something a bit more fun than was actually on offer here. And so yeah, so that was one of the things that I thought about relationship. Another thing that I kind of also thought about relationship was that you get into a relationship and then you sort of scan around getting to know this person, and you kind of work out what it is that you think they're looking for. Like, what is it that I need to turn into to continue to be attractive to this person? So, like, how do I adapt myself to be what they're looking for? So in that scenario, I kind of would have to guess what it might be that I thought they were, you know, and they would be different for a different partner. Like, maybe I thought one would like me to be a bit more lighthearted, one would like me to be more serious, one would like me to be more intellectual, one would like me to be more sexy. And then I would try and adapt myself to fit the bill. And then I would feel like, which is a complaint that a lot of people make in relationship, like you feel like you lose yourself in a relationship. You feel like, oh, I don't know who I am anymore, or I feel like I've kind of lost myself. And I know a lot of people say that, and it was something that I used to feel after a certain amount of time. And then, of course, I would actually blame the person or the relationship for my feeling that I'd lost myself. Because that's how it looked to me. It looked like the relationship was making me kind of not be me. And so that's something that happened to me kind of continuously over and over. And you know, one of those kind of reasons behind that, although I know it's not an unusual thing to do, is because, you know, I was running my own ideas about what was wrong with me or not okay with me, and I didn't want that person to really find out that underneath was this sort of insecurity that I was inadequate and unlovable. That was one of the things, that both those things I was running. So that's how I would talk to myself. So then, of course, because I talked to myself like that, I felt like that, and then I wanted to cover it up. So I would try and be whatever I thought was the most attractive thing. And this really does sound like hard work, I know, and it wasn't sort of as conscious as this. It just kind of, that's how I thought you did relationship, and that's what I did. But it was very, very tiring. And yeah, you relate to that, Heidi. Yeah, so yeah, it was tiring. It was tiring, and I felt like I remember really feeling like I needed breaks. Like, you know, when you're really comfortable around people or around someone, you don't need to have breaks from them because you're just being you. But because I was always trying to kind of be a version of me, it was actually really tiring. So I sort of felt like I needed a night off, or, you know, some time to recover by myself, because I was so tired. So there would be this sense of losing myself, and then I would blame him or blame the relationship. Another thing that I would do was I would have a lot of expectations that I wanted to be met, but I didn't want to seem needy or grabby, so I would keep them in my head. But I really wanted them, but I wouldn't tell the person. So they would have to work out what it was in my head that they needed to do to fulfill these needs. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, I wouldn't say it, but but I would have these expectations, like, oh, I'd give you an example, like sort of like, oh, my birthday's coming up. I really want it to be a nice present because I want it to show that they're really into me. And well, you know, what would that be? It could be like, you know, a plant to some people, some flowers, could be a piece of jewelry, could be a box of chocolate. I mean, who knows what that is, right? If you're not verbalizing what it is that this present needs to be in order to make you feel okay about it. But so that was not easy for them, because I'd have so much expectation on it and so much meaning about what this present would mean to me, and what it would mean about the relationship. So there were a lot of sort of times like that where I was just begging them to be a mind reader. And I don't just mean about buying me a present, but any kind of needs that I had. I didn't feel comfortable enough to share any of the needs, but I really, really wanted them met. And I really, really wanted that person to get me. And by getting me, I meant they needed to be able to read my mind. And so I'd set up these expectations, and then I would more often than not be disappointed. And my disappointment would be in them or in the relationship, because that's how it looked to me. So yeah, so a lot of stuff was kind of kept in, but every now and again it would become too much, and I would feel like, oh, you know, I need to talk. We need to talk. No, I need to talk. We need to talk. So I burst out with, we need to talk. And then I would like feel like I needed them to understand what was not going well for me. And I was, when I say we needed to talk, what it really meant was, I need to share with you my insecurity, and you need to make me feel better. But that was all unsaid. So it would go, we need to talk, and I'd talk about something or other, and you know, from a really kind of quite low feeling place. And I would often not get what I was looking for, which was to feel better about myself. So those kind of conversations really didn't go well, because I was looking for something very specific. And I, because of the way I was kind of asking, it wasn't their first response to kind of be really loving and kind back. And so I'd end up feeling worse after those we need to talk conversations. So yeah, so there was a lot of kind of wanting reassurance, and not really being myself, and wishing beyond wishing that my partner was a mind reader. And you know, that makes it sound like it was all the balls were in my court, and I was kind of, and they were like perfect boyfriends, and I was not a perfect girlfriend. And many of the guys I went out with, I would say, were far from that. But I'm just showing you kind of what my perspective was back then. And I think it wouldn't have mattered if they were all Prince Charming, because of the way I was coming at it. I wouldn't have really been able to enjoy it or have a really good time with them. So that's kind of the way it looked to me. And so, you know, I think everybody's familiar with the principles here, and I'm guessing that, but you know, I couldn't really have had a more outside in way of looking at love than I did. And, you know, if people said to me, you know, things like, oh, you know, you need to learn to love yourself, then I'd just be annoyed, because I didn't know how to love myself. And it was like, do I really need another job? like that's my job too. I didn't want to hear that was my job. I wanted it to be whoever I was with's job, right? Otherwise, what's the point of having a partner if they're not going to do that thing where they make you feel good about yourself? It was just the way I felt about it. So yeah, so I had a very, very outside in way of looking at love, and it was pretty tiring. So my relationship kind of history went you know, in I would say that in all of my relationships, I was I'm going to say a minimum of 70% of the time in my own head, and when I wasn't in my own head, I was in my own head thinking about what was in their head. So I was always wondering, you know, if they were a little bit off with me, or you know, ridiculous things. It's sort of a bit embarrassing, but you know, like I would assume that meant something about the relationship. I'd assume it meant something about me. I'd assume it meant something about the way they felt about me. And so I always was on the lookout for signals or signs, or, you know, but you know, so if they were off with me, I'd start getting into my head thinking, oh, they obviously want to break up, or, you know, something like that. So yeah, so yeah, it's some lovely messages here. Yes, don't worry, Paul, nobody's a great mind reader. So yeah, yeah, and then yeah, so my relationships kind of went on, and I had ones for varying lengths of time, usually for quite long lengths of time, considering the level of suffering that was going on that I've explained. And I was married eventually for 13 years. I got married when I was 25, and I was married for 13 years, and I wasn't happily married. It took me a very, very long time to leave, because I had a lot of thinking about leaving, and that I was going to destroy everybody, including my children. That's how it felt, because of the way I was using my mind. And, you know, divorce, if anyone's been through it, it's a difficult and painful experience, and very, very scary from that kind of frame of mind. Yeah, so after my divorce, I started dating again, and I kind of went back to where I was again. Same thing of having that insecurity and wanting someone to kind of make me feel better, and I didn't really have a lighter kind of way of showing up, not at that point anyway. And there were often times, and especially sort of near the time where I was reaching 50, where it felt like it was very hopeless, and that it may not happen for me ever, that maybe, you know, I used to tell myself all sorts of things, like maybe I'm too old, or no one will find me attractive, or you know, at some points it actually looked very, very hopeless, and I had no idea that that was something to do with the way I was using my mind. And of course, from that level of thinking, it was always going to look hopeless from there, because that's, you know, what happens at that level of thinking. And then at other times I'd feel like more hopeful, and I didn't really understand that. Why would that happen? Like, wasn't it just hopeless yesterday? And I had no idea that that was saying something about the way I was using my mind, not about my life. So there were all these sort of things going on, but I didn't have any understanding of them. So yeah, so So what happened next? So so what, well, when I came across the principles, I was in a relationship which I had been in for a few years at the time, about 3 years, maybe 3-4 years. And the whole time I'd been in that relationship, I was doing another one of my tricks, a different one, but I was doing the one where I have one foot in the relationship and one foot out the relationship. And I kind of, you know, oscillated between being in and being out, being in, being out. And that would be like, you know, over one day, let alone, you know, every other day or whatever. I felt like, you know, when I was in, it was very much from a kind of heady way of thinking, maybe you'll never meet anybody else. He's a good man. He's a decent man. You know, if you're not with him, you're going to be alone on a bench and feeding the birds. You know, I got the whole visuals, and I wanted to be alone on the bench holding hands with somebody. And I didn't mind feeding the birds, but I really did want to be holding somebody's hand. And so in that relationship, I was really trying to work it out. I really wasn't sure whether he was or he wasn't the right person. He was a very nice person, but he didn't feel right for me. And in quieter moments, I'd get that really, really clearly, that message. But then I would completely kind of override it with my intellect of saying, you know, those things like, you know, maybe you'll never meet anyone else. He's a decent person, all this sort of thing. So I was always oscillating, and I was just, it made it quite hard to enjoy it because I was always thinking about it. And but every now and again, I would fall out my thinking and actually have a really nice time. And then it would be confusing because I'd be like, how come I can have a really nice time? But then where does it go? Where's that gone? It's like, what happened there? But anyway, so, and then I started learning about the principles. And I remember on the training that I did, I think it was called the foundations training at that point, one thought. Practitioner training, I think. Anyway, I had Aaron as my supervisor towards the end, and I and I would just be boring Aaron every week with the, well, should I stay or should I go? And what do we think? And what do you think? And I'd be like, and Aaron, I think Aaron said something like, it doesn't matter. What are you talking about? I've been thinking about this for 4 years. What do you mean it doesn't matter? And so it was like, but I think I sort of understood that you just make a decision and then you've made a decision. And so my decision was, I'm out. So I ended that relationship, and that was that. And there was some relief from that because, you know, then I wasn't in indecision, which is tiring. But there was also insecurity that arose with that. Like the thing about what I was saying was, you know, I remember thinking that I maybe needed to just go and work in an orphanage in a really far away country because probably my love life was over now and there wasn't going to be anything else. So that makes Lily laugh. Okay, so and then about a year or so after that, I you know, and I had seen something about these principles. Something had really changed in my life. Like when I saw what I saw my big insight was that isn't it funny when you see my big insight was and then you can't remember what it was, but my big insight was that I was walking on the heath and I was with my dog, and I started to think about an ex-boyfriend. Now this ex-boyfriend, I haven't gone into detail about him, but this is the one that used to walk me around the heath for about 2 hours every day and tell me all the things that were wrong with me. So I'd come back from the walk and I'd be crying my eyes out because I really, really liked him. And there were all these things wrong with me, right? There were all these things wrong. But I thought that was, I kind of took it like coaching, like it was good for me. And so it was very painful and very difficult, but so anyway, I was thinking about that bloke, and I hadn't been with him for, I don't know, about 10 years at that point, but I was thinking about him and I'm remembering how he was with me and how unkind. And I started to cry. And I suddenly saw that, oh my God, it's not, maybe I won't name him, so-and-so doing that to me. It's my thinking. And I saw that in action in that moment. I just suddenly saw where it was really coming from. And it was like I was on the heath, I was on my own with the dog, and it was almost like I just kind of like was turning around like to try and tell somebody that I could see what I could see. It was like unbelievable to me. And when I had that insight, I kept getting more and more insights like that. Like when I was on my way to work and I was moaning about my boss in my head, I realized, oh, hang on a minute. It's not her. I haven't even said good morning to her yet. I haven't even got there yet. It's me, right? And so I started seeing that all over the place. So like literally, I went from being a sort of 97% of the time overthinker of any day to about 70% fell away. So I had a really juicy insight and a lot of my thinking fell away. But when it came to the area of relationship, it was still there. I still had a ton of thinking. It was really sticky. It was an area where I thought, this is hard, this is difficult. I need to work harder. I just need to work harder. That's what I do. That's what everybody does, isn't it? When something's difficult, we think we just got to do better or try harder. It's like, we're not, you know, we blame ourselves. And so I was still in that kind of mode. But then I started doing a bit of internet dating, and I wrote to 3 people who looked kind of nice to me. And one of them didn't write back. One of them just reminds me of something I want to say. One of them I went on a date with, and one of them wrote back and said, I'm really sorry, I'm dating somebody else, so I'm gonna leave it for now. But so I went on a couple of dates with the one who who was available, but it didn't pan out. But about 4 months after, one of the guys who I'd written to, who hadn't answered, then wrote back to me. And it's not what you call speed dating, is it? And he said, you know, I'm back, I'm available. Would you like to meet up? And I said, yeah, sure, yeah, it'd be nice. I was away in America at the time, but I said, when I get back. So we met up when I got back, and he was really nice. And I just found myself coming at it in a different way. And it was like there was two of me in a way. It was like there was this person who just kept knowing what to do or what not to do. It was like I suddenly become that person, from the person who really didn't know anything about anything. I suddenly like knew what to do and what not to do. And it was like we went out and we had a really nice time. We had a laugh and we had fun, and I didn't jump anywhere. I didn't kind of analyze him on the day. I wasn't thinking, could I be with a man like this? Could I be with him in the future? Is this going to work out? I just enjoyed him. And I enjoyed myself. And at the end of the evening, look, I'll tell you something quite weird. We went outside and the sky lit up with fork lightning. And okay, I've never seen fork lightning before. And that was weird. It was a moment, right? But we said, oh, you know, he said to me, oh, do you want to do this again tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, why not? I mean, why not, right? I have had a really nice evening. So we went and did it again the next day, and we had a really nice time. And we said, and he said, do you want to do it again the next day? And I said, yeah, sure. And it was very much, I found myself, instead of being in my head or being in the future, which is where I always was on dates, like, could I really be with this man? Will I, you know, kind of in my head interviewing him for a position. I just enjoyed it. I just got to know him, and I didn't know whether he was the one. It was not like, okay, the fork lightning probably was a clue or reflection, but I didn't know that. And so I just got to know him and enjoy him. And I did have wonderings. Every now and again, I think, I'm not sure, is he, there's a real, and I'd be like, well, let's wait and see. There wasn't anything to do about that. It was just like, let's just wait and see. Let's just get to know him. And I would say that it was so different to the way I'd always been. It was like I was just in the moment and knew what to do and knew what not to do. So if I felt myself getting kind of intense or tight, I would listen to that, and I'd be like, just kind of take a chill pill. It's like, just kind of step away from that intensity and just come back to the now. And I never, having done that all that time, making meaning out of things, I never made meaning out of anything that was that, if I felt a bit tight or I felt a bit insecure, it didn't have any place in the relationship. It didn't have any foothold there. There was nothing to discuss in the relationship because I was having a little bit of insecurity. And as a result, we've been together 5.5 years, and I did once say we need to talk, but it was something like, I don't know what we should have for dinner tonight. I mean, I needed to talk about it because I'm really quite obsessed with food. But we've never had we need to talk. It's not, I mean, it's a day-to-day thing. It's like, we enjoy today. I remember having this feeling like you just enjoy today and tomorrow takes care of itself. That was the first time that had ever happened to me. It was like, I always thought, I have to take care of everything. I have to be on the lookout for the potential problems, for what's going to happen, for some sort of timeline. And it was like, no, it was like, it just came to me that none of that was on me. And all I needed to do was show up and be in the moment. And what happened over and over again was we had this very light, fun connection and enjoyed each other. And it meant that I never worried about whether we should get married or be together forever or whatever. It's like, why wouldn't we want to be together tomorrow? Like, this is nice. Why wouldn't we want to be together tomorrow? It was that way round. It wasn't, the only thing that was kind of on me was just to, and not even that. It's like, I'm sometimes in my head, it doesn't even matter, but I don't make any meaning out of it. I don't make any meaning, and I don't drag that into the relationship. So if I'm a bit in my head, I'm not, you know, I can be an amazing listener, but I can also be a ridiculous listener. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, it's as long, at least I know when I'm listening and when I'm not listening, which is something I never kind of knew before. But it's like, I just realized that when I wasn't in my head, all of these kind of things that I'd always longed for, like feeling close to someone, having fun with someone, being ridiculously silly with someone, feeling loved, being loving, all those things just showed up when I wasn't trying. And for some amazing reason, I finally got this area of my life where I trusted that mind knew what to do. And I was really sensitive to mind in this area. It's like, I'd never let my head take charge of this area on purpose now. It's like, no way, no way. And you know, sometimes I can feel myself getting a bit controlling or tight, or, you know, wanting to be right. But it doesn't feel nice. It doesn't feel nice. I'm like, what do I want to do? I want to be right and, you know, be in that kind of feeling all evening, or do I just want to, like, not go after something? It's like, all the kind of gifts and the joys are when you kind of let go and you don't try and control it. So I amazingly just showed up to this relationship very, very differently. And, you know, there's lots of times where I'm in the relationship, there's no day that doesn't go past where I can see how I would have behaved, how I would have dealt with something compared to how I do deal with it. And you know, when you show up as just as you, without trying to be anything else, you get you become more lovable. And it's amazing, like, the more you are, the more acceptance you get. And it's just sort of so back to front to how I used to think that I had to be something to get that acceptance. And now, and I don't feel any loss of myself. I feel found. And I'm very, very grateful for what I know and for what I see and for what it makes sense for me to follow or go towards or not go towards, because I get guided every single day, all the time. And it's more from this kind of feeling. I feel kind of tight and contracted when my head's getting in the way. And when I kind of come out of that again, then mind shows me what to do next. And it's like yeah, I don't want to say more than that. Yeah, but I just wanted, what I remembered earlier that I wanted to say was about taking things personally, and that I used to take everything very personally, and it's like, it's amazing how, I mean, there's nothing, there's so little that, you know, it's like, if my husband's not listening to me or something because, you know, because he's distracted, it's like, that I would have made meaning out of in the relationship. I'd have thought it meant he wasn't into me or wasn't into the relationship. And now if I see he's distracted, he's distracted. That's it. He's distracted, whatever. And the big deal is nothing. I'll talk to him when he's not distracted. It's like, it's just very simple and clear. And, but like I say, it's not like, there are lots of things, little things that happen, but I just know how I would have dealt with it in the old days, and I know what makes sense to me now, and I have a lot of gratitude for that. Anyway, I've literally talked the longest I've ever talked. Well, I think, and that's like long time.
That is beautiful, and I tell you, Susan, what I think what it comes across is how relatable it is. Like, you could be talking honestly about my relationships, life. That could have been me. And I had Wayne here, just like, well, let's just look at each other. It was like, yeah, it's like me too, you know. It's we don't realize how similar our experiences are, and yet we feel so lonely, and we think we're the only ones going through that. And you know, I'm in the 50s club, you know, which is yeah, 52.
Surprise.
So for people that don't know what a magazine used to be, so it was used to be like this, you know, thing that you used to buy every week. And you know, and if you're a woman also, because I don't know you guys what you used to do, or you know how it works, but I can tell from Mars that, you know, you would start a relationship, or you would be looking for the relationship. You will sort of peel out your collections of you know, Cosmos magazine, the questionnaires, and your 10 steps on how to get the right guy or whatever, and you will start sort of that was, you meet somebody and you were like, well, now my future, my security, my future family, my happiness, my feeling of being seen, taken care of, loved, all depends on you. And we're sort of going to start this contract. And at least that's what I feel it was sort of how I used to approach things. And then I wasn't available. It's like I wasn't available to that person. And I didn't make that person available to me, because I would stop seeing who I had in front of me, thinking that this was the way to go. And, you know, because obviously a relationship is something serious, as you were saying at the beginning, you know. And, you know, you could have relationships that were like just maybe for fun, but, you know, since you kissed your guy under the water, pretty much I was kissing my first boyfriend, and I wanted him to be my husband, like future husband. I never pretty much dated anybody. I didn't come with that agenda. And and funny enough, when I came around the principles, after a bit, I realized that I was very unhappy in my marriage, and it wasn't, you know, as I said, very similar to what you were saying. I had become what I thought he wanted. I was trying to keep coping, and such a hard job of, obviously I wasn't doing it well because he wasn't happy. But all that building up around me, all that mask and all that costume to be hopefully lovable, was obviously not being enough. And then he was seeing how unlovable I was. That's what I thought. And again, it was like, should I rather stay in this relationship that at least we're married and hopefully holds on to something, or would I be, you know, in the bench in front of Susan, you know, feeding the birds and thinking how lonely we feel. And but it became obvious at some point that that wasn't working. And what I never thought I would say came out of my lips, and was like, I think this isn't working the way we need to separate. Now, what happened? Because if not, it looks like I wouldn't want to say that I came to the understanding and suddenly I read or they taught me the secret of how to, change that. It was something that I raised in me, sort of happened to bubble up in me. All my relationships either started getting better, or what didn't make sense started making no sense. That's what I heard from what you were saying. But just about before that moment, Wayne appeared in my life, and I saw him with complete different eyes. I think we saw each other with complete different eyes than I had. I didn't know what he was going to be in my life. I didn't know. That's what you were saying. Like, I didn't know if he was going to be there tomorrow. I didn't know. All I knew was like this feeling of like deep love and connection. I just wanted to be in his life. I didn't know what. And the second day after I met you, you asked me, why would you not separate if you feel that it's not working? And
can I just say at this point, I didn't even know the principles in this moment. So for me to kind of come up with that, I was just like, it just for me, it just kind of looked like, well, if you're not happy, why are you there?
And I said, well, because I can't do it on my own. I'm alone. I have nobody. I have no family. I have nobody. I'm, my family's in Argentina. I won't be able to afford it, and I can't do it on my own. And Wayne said, I'll be here for you. I didn't know him. And for the first time, it wasn't going from one branch. So, okay, I'll let go of that branch and I will hold on to this one because now Wayne will take care of my well-being and the things I need. It was, I heard something much deeper, like, okay, if you want to, just feel free that I'm here. It was like an absolute certainty that you can do this. You can do this. It may look like us, you need a teddy bear to hold on to. It's your teddy bear, okay. But it was that certainty that now, and I think during these 8 years, every day we could go into old habits, and then we learn about new things, and we hear each other.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why what you said and what you said during that time so beautifully is just that it's so freeing.
I love what you said when you said about the relationship being hard work, because I've always believed before I met Carolina was like, oh, every relationship's hard work. Now I'm not going to deny it and say there's days where the relationship doesn't feel like it's hard work or anything like that, because there are days where I'm just like, I need me time. But at the same time, this is probably the first relationship I've ever been in. And I'm not just talking about with a partner, I'm talking about with my own family, with any relationship, the majority of the time, I can just be me and let go.
Mm.
And it's so freeing and so releasing to have that. You know, as you say, there's days where Carolina will try and talk to me and I'll just be distracted. Or
Yeah.
I'll have something on my mind and I'll just, you know, be in a mood or whatever. And it's not to take it personally.
Yeah. Such a relief. Yeah. And you know, the other thing that was you know, I said, like, when I was younger, everything felt outside into me in regard to relationship, about my feelings and feeling loved and feeling lovable and all of that. And it was just such a surprise to me when I saw in action that all, you know, my husband's called Jeremy, all my loving feeling for Jeremy was coming from within me. It was like, it was such a surprise when I saw it in action. Like, I was in a good feeling, and because I was in a good feeling, I just felt filled with love for him. My good feeling, my good feeling. I get filled with love for him. And up until that, I guess, I always thought that you felt love because of somebody else, or because of what they're doing, or because of how they're being. I didn't see that I could, like, get filled with love whenever I wanted, and it was just up to me. Like, I can get a beautiful, good feeling about anybody at any time. It's up to me. I just get filled with it. It's my feeling. And seeing that was like amazing, and such a difference to that thing where I said, when I felt like I was being given another job, when they said, you know, if you've got to learn to love yourself. It's like such a different kind of, that felt like a job. And this is like, oh my God, I can get filled with this amazing loving feeling at any point. We get it in group all the time, don't we? You know, when you just get filled with love, and it's just such a wonderful, wonderful gift that is available to all of us, but we just keep getting in the way of that, don't we? If we don't know, we get in the way because we're looking for it, or we're searching for it, or we're looking outside for it. There's a lot of messages here.
Should we?
A lot about you being very, very young. But you are ridiculously looking young.
Well, it helps to have a younger model, but
sounds like you're going to upgrade soon.
No, I won't. But it really, I mean, I would really like people to be able to either unmute themselves and share something, or ask questions, or you can put your virtual hand. I love Karine. I hope this is okay for me to share, but she's that she often feels guided to through principal staff, and she clicked at the button to this Zoom meeting, totally impulsive. Balance and harmonic relationships and being authentic is so important for a really good life. And soul love. That sounds like Susan, Caroline, and Wayne have found. Love this, and I love 3P and the whole inside out understanding. Lots of love, and we have tons of really lovely messages. So please unmute yourselves, ask questions, share something if you want to.
Can I say something?
Yes, of course.
Hey, Heidi.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. So yeah, it's amazing the things you were saying, how it sounded like it was me. But my last relationship was with my husband, and we have a son, and he's now 4. And everything, like for the first time in my life, the relationship with my husband went really smoothly in the beginning, and it just seemed to be amazing how it just happened so smoothly, like none of the other relationships were. And you know, both of us wanted a child and both of us wanted the same things, and I'd never met anyone that wanted the same things as me before. And what I used to do is I would adjust to meet what they wanted, and I would end up in all the wrong relationships because of it. And you know, I was getting on and thinking, well, I really want a child. So anyway, so I met David online and everything went really smoothly. But as soon as I had my son, our son, I just became, I mean, I wasn't even aware that I had anxiety before, but I'm very aware that I had lots of anxiety when my son was born about whether I could be the right this and the right that and the right mother. I mean, I just, you know, if I was going to get anxious about anything, I got anxious about everything, about my job, about myself, about, you know, it was just horrendous. And I basically lost it. And my husband basically said, "You're losing it." And I said, "No, I'm not, I'm fine." And I shaved my hair off and, you know, carried on working and said, you know, "I'm okay," you know, and all these things. And I didn't really ever admit to him that I was losing it, really. And any time that he said to me that I was losing it, it just made me fight back. And you know, I've been fighting for 2 years. I'm still fighting him. I mean, I've done everything. I've used my son in a custody battle. I've just done everything to fight him. And now, you know, I'm going to get upset, but now I realize that, you know, all of that was just because I couldn't handle what was going on and what he was saying to me, and, you know, the feelings that it was bringing up. And, you know, I just didn't want to admit any of these things that I've just said. And, you know, I just wanted to kind of just, you know, I don't know, just roll over and say, it's okay, you know, and it is okay. But the thing is, I have done so many things to avoid kind of, I don't know, I've just been resisting the facts. And but I came across the principles in November of 2019, and we split in July. And since I came across the principles, you know, I've had so many ups and downs about how I feel about everything, you know, myself, my job, my son, my husband. And you know, most of the time when he doesn't respond to me in the way I want, I then petition for divorce or raise a custody battle or, you know, do these dramatic things. And it's only now, like, it's a year and a half later. I mean, it will be 2 years in July. It's only now that I realise that that I didn't have to do any of those things. And, you know, maybe if I hadn't have done any of those things, I could have, my life would have, you know, with the situation would have been so much better. But thank God now I can see that I don't need to do, I'm not going to do any more. And I'm totally kind of saying, look, you know, I don't want any of this anymore. I want us to get on, you know, I'm not fighting anymore. And, you know, I think it's going to be okay. But, you know, and I even like want him back, but, you know, whether that's going to happen, I think I don't even have an I do have an expectation, but I cannot believe that I'd ever get him back after all of this. You know, he's done some crazy things as well. You know, we've both been as bad as each other on many levels. But, you know, part of me thinks, you know, on many levels, even though he had just as many issues as me, you know, he was the best one out of all of them. And, you know, it's just coming to terms with and dealing with, you know, how do I now, you know, forgive myself for what's happened, forgive him. And I do forgive him. I forgive him. I totally forgive him. But how do I forgive myself and move forwards without constantly beating myself up for doing what I've done? Like, I know that in the 3Ps, you know, what I did then because I didn't know any better. But the thing is, today, you know, I can't, it's hard to let go of this need to want to kind of make it all better and correct it all and you know, repent for the rest of my life for my sins, you know, which is not 3P. But, you know, how do I don't know, I know that no one has the answer and it will all work itself out. But just recently we had a conversation and I basically, he picked up the phone and I didn't imagine he would pick up the phone. So when he picked up the phone, I couldn't even speak. I couldn't get my words out. And I didn't know what I was going to say anyway, but I couldn't get my words out. But, you know, I started speaking and then he asked a few questions and then I responded to those questions. And he said, oh, I can't really do this now because I'm at work. And I said, okay, I understand, that's fine. I was just responding to your question. And he said, I can't remember, but then finally it was like, I said, you know, he said, look, you know, we'll make some time, you know, have a good day. I hope you have a good day. And that was that. And I keep going over, you know, he was actually really nice to me on the phone. He wasn't horrible to me, which he was like, and I was horrible to him. Anyway, but the thing is, it's like, what I would have done in the past is I would have contacted him again and, you know, I would have rang like some crazy nutter and, you know, he, you know, and maybe left some voicemails and, you know, blamed him for everything that I was feeling and that he wasn't giving me exactly what I wanted now. And, you know, I'm not going to do that, even though there were moments where, you know, I thought, oh, I'm just going to do that. But I haven't done that. And it's like, you know, whatever happens, you know, I have done something gracefully at last, because none of it's been graceful for the last 2 years. But, you know, finally I have. But, you know, and I don't know, when I hear your story and, you know, your story as well, you, Carolina and Wayne, you know, every time I see you, I just think you're just so adorable. And I just think, how did you get to be so adorable? You know, you're just so adorable. And, you know, you've been through what I've been through. So, you know, it gives me hope that, you know, I can get there one day. And again, Susan, with you. So I don't know, I don't really know what I'm saying anymore, but, you know, thank you for sharing what you shared, Susan, because it is giving me hope. And yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing what you shared. And, you know, I can't speak for everybody on the call, but, you know, listening to you, you know, I'm saying, but you're adorable because you're so, you know, your openness and sharing what you shared and how, you know, you've clearly been trying your best, but making loads of mess in the past, because that's what we do when we get in our way. Like, it just, we make mess and then now it doesn't make sense to you anymore. And that's just bloody brilliant. I think the progress and what you're seeing now is just amazing. So, and that's, you know, when you know, we can, it sounds like, you know, you kind of were reactive in the past, but we all know what that's like. And it's, you know, whenever I get into that sort of state, I try not to make too much mess when I'm in it, but sometimes we do make a lot of mess when we're in it. And then, but then to have this grace where you've come out of that and you're looking back and you're thinking, you know, I can see that that's not how I want to be coming across, or that's not how I want to be showing up. And it's like, it's like when I was listening to you, all I think is that you're already being guided, you're already being shown what to do and not to do. It's like it's already showing up from the way you're speaking and the way you're explaining. So you'll know, because it's that thing of following what feels right. You know when you're getting contracted because it doesn't feel good, and you start to make a mess, and you know when you're coming from a place where you're getting more filled with love for your husband, love for your son, love from whatever, and like you just need to come from that place, and you see what will pan out. You're not in, you don't have to make everything happen. You just kind of show up in the way that you want to be showing up. And maybe some days you won't, and that's fine too. But at least your general direction now is coming from love. And that's what I'm hearing. And that's a really great place to be coming from. And then let's see what magic happens after that.
Thanks.
You just reminded me of this. When I hear Seeds saying in the recording, it's like, when I hear for me. So like, be thankful for what you have, Carolina. And I remember reading something on Facebook at some point that said, remember when you wish you had what you have today? And that for me is like, oh. So say, for example, if I wished, like for what you were sharing, Heidi, so nicely, if I wished we didn't have any fights with my ex, any more horrible feeling between us, and now we don't, oh my God, that is already something so huge. Like you have a nice conversation on the phone and you're connecting again. That is huge. Because if not, I tend to keep thinking of what I wish would happen next instead of savoring and being so grateful for what is happening now. Like that, not as a doing, but like really like realizing what a huge difference that is. What a huge difference I can hear in your life from where you were and what you are here now. You know what Susan is saying, you're being guided. There's nothing else to do. Just you don't want to, you don't need to, you know, kneel on rice or walk on fire. That's okay. That's okay. You know, when you can, you'll forgive yourself and you just be guided. But what you managed to do today, that beautiful, lovable person you are that now is doing so many lovable stuff, loving stuff, really. That's just so, for me, that's what I will say. That is my answer to. That is my answer to.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, I'm not saying a but I mean, today, I went to work today. I woke up and I just felt so angry, and I drove in my car really fast, and I got really annoyed with my car, and I even got annoyed with my dog, and I got annoyed with myself, and I got to work, and I just admitted to people that I'm just feeling really miserable. But the main reason I was feeling miserable is because in my head, this dialogue going on is, it's all about, you know, oh my God, you shouldn't have phoned him. Oh my God, what is he going to be thinking? Oh my God, what's going to happen next? Oh my God, what if I do what I've done before? You know, and it was driving me nuts, but I managed to, you know, do good things at work today. And, you know, if I had patients, you know, because I'm a nurse, you know, the patients I was dealing with was, you know, I did good things. And what I found amazing is that, you know, the patient came in the room and everything went. And, you know, normally I'm I can deal with my patients, but there's still loads of shit going on, and it's driving me mad. And if a patient is coming up with stuff that I think, oh God, it's not that symptom again, you know, the noise will annoy me, and I might even like express that in my expression to the patient. And you know, the mask hides a lot, thank God, in some ways. But the thing is, today, like, I don't know what it was. I was feeling so bloody angry, and I do get so angry with myself because of the noise. But I still managed to do a really good job with my patients. And you know, sometimes it's not always like that, and I can be in a better mood. So, you know, that was really weird for me today. And you know, even though, and anyone that asked me at work that I know really well, you know, people that I didn't know so well, that, oh, hi, you know, in the corridor, but anyone that knows me well, how are you? Are you all right? It's like, no, I'm not. I'm really angry and I'm miserable. And I think I'm going to be miserable for the rest of my life, you know, really honest. And, you know, normally I just pretend that everything's okay. And, you know, I did have some thinking that maybe people are thinking, oh my God, that Heidi, she's a bit nuts because she's so miserable. But it wasn't a huge amount of thinking. You know, I think, I don't know, maybe it's okay to be honest, but you know, I like, you know, this hard work of trying to maintain this persona to everyone, you know, I would do it with people, not just relationships, everyone. It's like working so hard to create this persona for the sake of who? It wasn't for me, it was for everyone else. So everyone else can give me something. But actually, they're not giving me anything I need, and it doesn't work. You can't control how other people behave towards you. So anyway.
Claire has a question or a hand up. So Claire,
Okay.
please do mute yourself. There you go. Hello.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to say, Heidi, you just made me think today, because I'm a nurse as well. And, you know, when you were saying that, you know, with your patients, you're sort of, you know, you forget about what's going on in your own life, and you're sort of there and you're with them, and you're, you know, that's you being present, isn't it? And that's, you know, with your thought falling away at that point, you're there with them. And I just think, you know, probably the other stuff is when you're getting lost in it. All that surface noise and thought can come away when, you know, when you're not present, sort of thing. So, you know, I just think, just be reassured that's always there, sort of thing. And I know, God, I'm totally with you, because I'm exactly the same, you know. We all have that. We're all the same, aren't we? We're all the same. But yeah, just made me think.
Yeah, I know, and thank you. And but it's so, sometimes it's so hard to remember to remember that it's there. Because, you know, all I remember, unfortunately, well, a lot of the time, I remember all the bad moments when I wasn't present, and I'm sitting there thinking, this patient is driving me nuts, and you know, I just want this patient to leave the room, because I can't even sort this patient out, and I'm giving myself a hard time because the patient presentation is too complicated for me to deal with. But I can refer, it's fine. But because I can't deal with it, I'm really annoyed with myself, and I'm almost irritated with the patient. And it's like, you know, if I go and leave the room, discuss it with a colleague, you know, my colleague will say, it's no problem.
Yeah.
Just refer. And it's like,
That's it.
What,
and you know what?
Why was I so tense myself? Yeah, it's like, you know, because it's this whole thing of like feeling like I'm not good enough because I can't sort this out now. I'm not perfect. But it's like, actually, you know, you can still help, but you just need to refer.
Yeah.
But today, I don't know, today it was almost like every patient that walked through the room was there to show me that actually I'm okay, because it all worked. But I was still feeling shit. When they left the room, I was back in my shit. And then they come in and it went. And it's like, sometimes I live in fear of going to work thinking, what if I actually lose it in front of a patient and, I don't know, swear at them, or I don't know, just get really angry because I've got so much anger inside of me. You know, I worry, but, you know, it's fine.
I love the way you keep coming back to that.
You don't have to do that, though.
Don't have to.
You don't have to do that, love, do you?
What, spend all that time worrying about it?
Yeah.
No. I mean, you know, like, I've had moments since I've been understanding about the 3 Ps where I haven't had so much anxiety, but just lately, you know, this anger and this worry, I am going through the perimenopause, this anger and this worry is, it's like, oh my God, I thought I really thought I had done with this, but it's back. And there are moments where I thought, I've lost it all of this understanding, I've lost it all. I'm back to square one, but I haven't, because I wouldn't be doing this if I had, yeah? Yeah. So it's fine.
All
Yeah.
is well.
It'll pass, totally, yeah.
All is well. Beneath
Thank
all that
you.
noise, there's everything good beneath all that noise. And we just listen to the noise and it's fine. And then we don't, and then we get good again. If anyone feels drawn, we've got a relationship ready training coming up in March the 13th, 14th, or 14th, 15th. It's a Saturday and a Sunday, which you can find on Facebook under Relationship Ready. But can I just say that I really, really enjoyed tonight, and I thank you so much for inviting me, and it was really lovely to meet everybody, and I hope I see you all again at some point. And thank you, Caroline and Lily, for coming along, because I know you get to hear me a lot at other times of the week, so very kind of you to both show up. Thank you. And Heidi, all the best, but it's all going well. It's all going in a good direction overall. All the best to everybody.
Susan, thank you so much. I think what you open up is something that we could probably do, as you well know, for like a whole weekend or, you know, several weeks, because it is powerful. It's something that everybody can relate. And so maybe it is something we should do for a few more weeks. But anyway, you've been super kind with your time, and we're going to put the link so people can sign up for your training. But we're not gonna. This is not all we're going to have of Susan Marmot during this series, is it? Because I don't want to let her go. But next to nearly the end of the series, we're going to have Susan, we're going to have Liliana Bellini, which I think maybe she had to leave, and I don't know if she's here yet still.
No, she's gone now.
Oh, no, she's gone.
Yeah.
And Louise Scott, because you started something new that we heard at the end of Liliana Bellini's talk, and you're going to come and talk about Big Simple.
Thank you. And we look forward to that. We look forward to that.
And that's about young people in the foster system, isn't it?
That's right. We want to work with people coming out of the care system, as
so that's what
he knows.
Come and talk about. And so thank you everybody for being here so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Next week we are having Jatil Halmo, and and Jatil is having lots of beautiful stories to talk about, and you know, had a very interesting life. But we're gonna let it all for him to talk about, and he's gonna talk about being present from the heart. So if you're curious about that, it'll be lovely to have you here next week. So to everybody here, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Susan, it's been a pleasure. Can't wait to have you here. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.